This week we'll have a look at the amazing Ocarina of Time any percent speedrun. Hold on, didn't we cover that already? In, I don't know, almost every video? Oh, I was meant to talk about the 3D version. Wait, but isn't that the same? Okay, I mean it's technically the same engine, the code base is the same, and Grezzo even said they left the glitches in. Why would that be different? Well, I guess it's time to compare those by using their speedruns. First of all, thanks a lot to Ben Steffens for providing his any percent personal best video with a time of 38 minutes and 34 seconds, putting him in second place of the leaderboards with his amazing run. Make sure to check out his Twitch and YouTube channel, which we will link in the description. Ocarina of Time 3D uses the same game logic as Ocarina of Time on the N64, as it tried to reuse the code wherever it could. So nope, the glitches that were left in were not intended for the nostalgic feeling. They just happened to be there as they reused code fragments and game logic from the original game. This isn't a bad thing though, as it helps to make the game feel a lot like the original one, which results in a more familiar game feeling with less effort. It's a win-win situation. Another indicator for this is the fact that the most common way to achieve the infinite sword glitch was patched. This was by far one of the more likely glitches to happen in the original game, as you just had to crouch step a pot with something in it that you hadn't obtained yet. So patching the most common glitches and stating that they left in some glitches for the nostalgic feeling? Nice try, Grezzo.
This doesn't mean that the infinite sword glitch is completely patched though. Its approach is just different, but everything at its time. We were meant to look at the runs after all, weren't we? Comparing the world records of the games alone already shows that there are a lot of differences. The world record in Ocarina of Time is 17 minutes and 7 seconds by Skater, while the Ocarina of Time 3D one is 38 minutes and 28 seconds by Aaron Toad. Still amazing, but a difference of more than 21 minutes. So let's compare them more in depth. Both runs start off with the intro cutscene, Seria greeting us, and Link backflipping off the balcony. Then we backwalk a little and grab the sword. And this is already where the similarities end. The N64 version buys the shield from here, enters the Deku Tree, you know the drill. The thing it tries to accomplish is go inside the Great Deku Tree, defeat the final boss, and do a wrong warp there so they can get to the final part of the game. While this could technically work on the 3DS version as well, there's one issue. Ocarina items is fixed. It is not possible to pull off a wrong warp, as this glitch is mandatory to re-enable the movement after starting the warp cutscene. Obviously, wrong warps by themselves aren't fixed. In fact, the 3DS game has different warp options than the original version has. But we'll get back to that later. The 3DS now runs to the exit of Kokiri Village, gets rid of the sign, and performs a triple slash against the wall, followed by putting away the sword. The recoil will give us some backwards momentum, and putting away the sword extends that, which allows us to get past the Kokiri blocking the exit. This was one of the earlier tricks found in the 3DS version. It technically works in the N64 as well, although its physics don't really play along, rendering this trick pretty useless there. Now that we snatched the Fairy Ocarina, it's time to move on. But where do we go to? Looking at the N64 version, we can't use the wrong warp in Deku Tree. So what's the second fastest category? Maybe we can use this as a little guide to finish the game quickly. And yes, we can.
The second fastest category on the N64 is the Ganonless category. The world record here is 32 minutes and 16 seconds by Sudo, which is really close to the record of the 3DS version. So are these the same? Nope, not really. We have to go a step further and compare it to the Virtual Console run, which is 41 minutes long. Maybe this one will do, as it can't use some of the 1.0 advantages the N64 version can use, which are obviously patched in the 3DS version, as they were patched in later N64 distributions already. Both runs start with an escape from Kokiri Village, but the N64 version grabs a bottle here, while the 3DS version goes to Hyrule. Here we wake up Talon, and then proceed to go to Zelda to learn Zelda's lullaby and get the letter to access Death Mountain from Kakariko on. The Ganonless Run in the N64 version will also go to Kakariko, after obtaining the Master Sword. So if we disregard this little fact, are they the same? Nope, still not the same. The 3DS version goes straight to Goron Village from here on, plays Zelda's lullaby, enters Darinia's room to grab a Deku Stick and light a few torches, ultimately trying to grab one of the bomb flowers, which fails due to the lacking power bracelets, but ends up lighting the bomb flower as we still had the lit up Deku Stick. From here on we go to the Lost Woods and learn Saria's song in order to obtain the power bracelets. almost as if we were playing the game the intended way for a second. Scary. The Ganonless Run goes to Kakariko to collect Kojiro and then proceeds with a big Goron Sword quest. And this is exactly the point where we'll drop the N64 comparison for now, as there seems to be no point in comparing. But we'll get back to that later.
The 3DS run will now commit suicide to spawn at the entrance of the map again and head back to Darunia in order to collect the power bracelet. So what's next? The Dongo's Cavern? Actually, yes. We need bombs, so yeah, we really need to go there. We place a bomb flower next to the bombable wall, and leave with a jump slash as it explodes in order to skip the introduction cutscene. Re-enter the Dongo's Cavern and walk the intended way up to the bomb bag. Well, not quite. As intended as it seems, we can skip the slingshot with some very tricky movements. While this part can be skipped entirely in more recent routes, we won't cover it here. We light the eyes of the big Dodongo's head and leave the cavern again. Here we go up the mountain, blow up the wall, and get magic. We save and reset the game to go back to Kokiri Village, perform a different escape, and go to Zora's domain. Here we perform a triple slash clip again to skip King Zora and the bottle, run past Jabu Jabu, and obtain Furore's Wind. But hold on! If we go back to the Ganonless Run, we notice something. Towards the end of the run, the Ganonless speedrun on N64 also has Furore's Wind. It didn't obtain it through the Great Fairy though. It used a glitch called Bottle Adventure, which puts Furore's Wind on the B button if done correctly. And this is exactly where both runs line up again, in theory.
The 3DS speedrun now goes back to Goron Village, leaves and re-enters through the main entrance to set the entry point for Furore's Wind. We put Furore's Wind over an item that we are able to use and close the inventory immediately, which allows us to use it for 1 frame after closing the inventory again. The N64 version of the game does not have such a glitch, so it had to go another way to use Furore's Wind in areas the player isn't meant to use it. And the fastest way to do so is to get it on the B button. This one will now head to the Deku Tree though and fight Goma, while the 3DS run will go to King Dodongo. After both bosses are defeated, they only have to activate Furore's Wind at the same time the blue warp triggers in order to perform a wrong warp. The N64 version can just walk on the seam of the blue warp, while the 3DS version has to sight up onto the blue warp and has less time to trigger it. After a certain amount of time, they attempt to warp back, which results in a wrong warp, and due to them sharing a certain portion of values and code, they both end up in the credits. And now you see why we picked Ganonless as a comparison to the 3DS run. While they seem to have nothing in common, their goal was the same from the beginning: obtain Furore's Wind in a way that it can be used outside of dungeons and then wrong warp to the credits. Both have to use different paths due to the lack of familiar glitches in the 3DS version, but in the end, they aren't too different. We hope this gave you a little insight into the different but yet quite similar runs of the Ocarina of Time versions, and hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't like the video, try to hit thumbs down and misclick, and if you liked it, try not to misclick.